We continue our CA Hoop Summer School series today with the head coach of the William and Mary Tribe, Dane Fischer, presented by Belfour. Coach, first of all, thank you for joining us. How are you doing and your family and those close around you during the coronavirus pandemic?
Yeah, thanks, Bobby. I appreciate it. It's good to see you again. We are doing well here. Students are back on campus here, and we're getting going with classes, so everybody's excited around here. It's not quite the same buzz that you typically have when classes get going, but I know there's some excitement for everybody to have everyone back, so we're looking forward to getting started.
And, Coach, kind of on the brighter side of all this, if there is a silver lining, obviously I'm sure you've had some time during the extended break to do things that maybe coaches don't get to really do during the off season a little bit, if it means more family time, or did you get to catch up on any type of favorite TV shows? I know Netflix has been a big thing for everyone, or favorite book, or anything in that regard.
Well, the first thing you mentioned is definitely what I've done more than anything is spending time with family. My wife and I have two young kids. Our son turned 2 3 weeks ago. Daughter will be 4 in November. So to spend these last 5-6 months with them and just kind of watching them grow and change has been really, really neat. We've done a little binging on Netflix, so I'd say Ozark's probably our favorite show that we really got into. And then in terms of reading and that kind of stuff, the books that kind of take over our household right now are like Little Blue Truck and Brown Bear, What Do You See? So that's been the majority of my reading, but it's been a lot of fun. I mean, this is the most I've been home since I've been in college coaching, and it's been really fun to spend time with the kids.
And, Coach, it's great that you were able to have some of that family time, but what have been some of the challenges as a coach during this pandemic that you've had?
I think without a doubt the biggest challenge has just been the unknown as we've gone through this. And, we went from talking to our guys about, hey, maybe we're going to try to get you guys back on the campus in June and then maybe in July and so on and so on. And we ended up not getting them back at all this summer, which I think was the right move for us. And, so the challenge of just not knowing, what it was going to look like when we were going to get started, trying to communicate that to your players and their families as best you can with a lot of times just our answers were we're not sure yet. And I think that's really hard for people to have to deal with. And then, the next thing was, we didn't want to just throw our hands up and say, well, if they're not here, we can't work on building our team. So it was a way, we wanted to figure out a way for us to try to build our team and establish our core values and some team building stuff from a distance, which we did, over Zoom. And I think that was really helpful for us so that, when everybody gets here this fall or has now, arrived on campus, it's not like we haven't done anything. It just hasn't been very much in person.
And speaking of things in person, you mentioned, the players are back. You guys are doing workouts. What has that been like? What do you mind sharing some of the kind of procedures or the planning that you have to do as a coach moving forward? I'm sure it's a lot different than just getting everybody out there together. So what things are you guys doing in these early workouts, and what do you kind of plan on doing moving forward?
Yeah, our staff did a lot of, research and talking with other programs that did have players back over the summer and just trying to find out some of the things that they put in place to ensure that, you can get through these safely and keep our student athletes safe. And that's certainly been the focal point of our staff and our medical team here has been really helpful with that. So, to begin with, we're in the gym with face coverings, and it's small groups. It's the same guys in the gym every time. You're disinfecting the balls in between groups coming in, and guys are going in one exit, out the next. I mean, there's just or in one entrance and out the designated exit, and just really trying to implement as much as we can in terms of keeping it clean and social distance as much as possible. And then hopefully as we are here for a few weeks and get off to a good start with it, we can start progressing to a little more group work and eventually teamwork.
Coach, in your first year, the Tribe had tremendous success, finishing second in CA regular season. You were the CA Coach of the Year. What's the message to the team this season as you look to build off of that?
I think the big thing is every time you go into a new season is that you have to treat every season as its own journey. And, there are certainly some steps we took as a program that I was really proud of last year and hope to to take even further. But at the same time, I think you have to go into every season starting at the beginning, laying the foundation, not assuming that things are in place just because you have guys back that maybe understand terminology or some of the expectations. So that's going to be our biggest thing, is just starting from square one and really getting these guys understanding what our foundation is and just trying to build upon that. And we're a program that talks about let's just play as well as we possibly can and maximize our ability. And if we can do the things to put us in place to do that, then we'll have a chance to have some success.
And it's going to be a new look for the Tribe this season after the graduation, of course, of Nathan Knight. While you can't replace someone like him one for one, how does his departure change how the team will look for this season, and maybe some players that maybe we haven't heard of yet, as fans or people that follow the league, that maybe we'll hear their names this year stepping up?
Yeah, I think we'll certainly have a very different look this year as a team. And obviously you mentioned Nathan Knight, one of, if not the best of all time to play here, and just had an unbelievable season for us. And the amount of things he did for us from a production standpoint, spoke for itself. But he had a great voice in our within our locker room, and our team was a great leader. And we'll need to replace him in both of those areas, and that's not going to be done by one guy. We also lose three of our other starters, and along as losing our starting 5-man and Nathan Knight, we lose our starting 4 and backup 5 and Andy Van Vliet. So I think we're going to go from a team that at times put one of the biggest front courts out there and biggest lineups out there, certainly in our league, and at times probably across the country, to, we might be a team this year that puts some of the smallest lineups out there. And that's going to be a difference for us in how we play. Offensively, we're certainly not going to play through a player like we did Nathan last year or like we did Andy, and it's going to be much more through perimeter guys. And I think the biggest difference that we'll probably have as a program is defensively. And we were pretty vanilla defensively last year, and I think that was because of the fact that Andy had to go from playing a perimeter 4 to a 5 and trying to keep it as consistent as we could for him. So I think we'll be able to get to more layers defensively this year, which I'm really looking forward to.
And Coach, looking at the landscape of the CAA, how much, you've been here for, this will be your second year coming up. How much is it going to change from last year to this year coming up? A lot of great players moving on. What do you see this? How do you see the CAA coming about here in 2020 and 2021?
Well, I think that there's a lot of unknowns going into this season for a variety of reasons, obviously. But if you just look at the roster turnover across the league, I mean, some of the top players obviously graduated or left, and then you got some coaching changes and transfers coming in. So I think there's a ton of turnover really throughout. I think you always look at, when you think who's going to be good this time of year, you just look at who's got guys coming back that had really good years. And I think, Drexel's got some guys coming back. Delaware's got guys coming back. Elon's got some young guys that had great years that are coming back. I think the team that probably isn't talked about that much that's going to be probably really talented is James Madison. And they bring back Matt Lewis, who's one of the best guards in the league, and then they've got a bunch of transfers coming in that I think are immediately eligible. So I think they're going to have a really high talent level. So, but it's always hard to predict because you just never know how a team's going to come together, and you don't know what guys are going to take a jump that you didn't expect to see when a season ended previously. So it'll be fun, that's for sure.
Speaking of making a jump, players in the CAA over the past few years now, and they're set up once again in regards to the professional level, and you coached, a player in Nathan Knight who's getting ready, obviously, for the NBA draft, along with College of Charleston's Grant Riller. And then the other night, in the bubble, we've seen some CAA players that have recently graduated from the league. Devontae Kaycock at UNCW playing for the Lakers, and Jarrell Brantley and his big night the other night for the Jazz. What does that say about the league and how this can be kind of a springboard for the league in regards to recruiting and being on the national landscape?
I think it speaks volumes to the amount of talent that's in this league and certainly has been in it. And, as you mentioned, you just went through a handful of NBA players that came directly from this league. And, the other day, I think people was talking about when Memphis and Portland were playing that, the three best players on the floor were mid-major guards. And, I think we're seeing that trend where, guys are going to the mid-major level and having a lot of success because they get an opportunity to play a little bit earlier than maybe they would have if they went to a Power 5. And you can get better all you want in practice, but you've got to be able to go out and produce in games. And you're seeing guys that, in this league have done it for 3 and 4 years. And by the time they're seniors, they're some of the top players in the league. So it's a credit to the coaches in this league and the recruiting that's gone on, the player development that's gone on. And I think that the tradition that's been set here with some of these guys going into the playing at the NBA level is great for our league as a whole.
Absolutely. And Coach, also we want to touch on, the other off-season headline, unfortunately, being the social justice movement. What have the conversations been like within your program with your student athletes in regards to the social justice movement and Black Lives Matter?
Yeah, so what we did this year, which was great early on, we played in Washington, D.C. in December and had a couple of days where we were up there and we were able to go to the African American History Museum. And we did that one day, and then the next day we actually just sat down as a team and we just talked about race in America. And it was about a 2-hour conversation, and it was people just sharing their experiences and their stories. It allowed for a lot of our Black players and staff members to talk about some of the prejudice they've faced. And I think it was a really eye-opening conversation for a lot of us. And when everything happened with George Floyd this past spring, it allowed us to get back together as a team and continue those conversations and take it a step further of, what are some of the things that we can do as a program and as individuals to really help, with this movement. And one of the things we've been able to do is taking those conversations and pass them along to some of our season ticket holders and donors in some Zoom calls that we've had and just talk about experiences. And, I think that there's so much education that needs to go on for all of us with this issue. And I think that, it's something that's getting the attention that it really deserves and needs more. And this has got to be something that we're really conscious of as a conference and as a sport, just in men's basketball as a whole. I know our guys, I feel really confident that our players in that generation will be more educated than a lot of the previous ones and hopefully can take what they learn and move this issue in a positive direction, because it certainly needs a ton of attention from all of us.
Indeed it does, Coach. Thank you so much for sharing your the insights, what you're doing with your program in regards to the social justice movement. And thank you for taking time for sharing your summer. You stay safe, your family stay safe, and hopefully we'll see the tribe on the court here sooner rather than later.
That sounds like a good plan, Bob. Good catching up with you, and stay safe as well.
All right. Thank you, Coach.
All right. Take care.